As discussed in the previous video, the third phase of the self-realization journey is about revamping one's being, their body, mind, and spirit, specifically how much of their spirit they can hold and maintain within them. Phase 4 is about managing this in the real world. We have to go through the high and low phases, these phases of questioning who we are and what we believe in, amongst our daily tasks of work, family, and social responsibilities. This can interfere and change relationships, careers, and our worldview. Going through this process allows you to question much of what is going on in the world. Sometimes you will be filled with anger. Other times standing back and observing, wondering what the big picture is. A zooming in on life and a zooming out at times. It is here that it can be hard to find someone to listen and understand you, but more importantly, to be your guide through this maze. When I was going through this during the pandemic, and I am still going through this phase, questioning things were not allowed. I really had to be silent, and it was hard. I felt that there was no one I could trust out there in the mental health world. My worldview was that the world was on pins and needles. I had to tiptoe around, and there was no time for anyone to get out of line. This isolation led to poor mental health. This was the first time the term awakening really stuck with me, but I wouldn't fully understand it until a year later. Now I'd like to share Dr. Roberto Asciagioli's perspective on the last phase of the self-realization journey. I will begin by saying that he does not mention the term enlightenment, but, in my opinion, refers to it. His definition of self-realization is, and I quote, "It is a state of consciousness characterized by joy, serenity, inner security, a sense of calm power, clear understanding, and radiant love. In its highest aspects, it is the realization of essential being, of communion and identification with the universal life." End quote. If the higher self could tell you what its goals are for this phase, it would be that number one, it needs to remove the obstacles that our human consciousness has blocking it from entering into our consciousness. Number two, developing and bringing to light our powers that have lain dormant. Number three, our higher self needs us to give it time to work and be open to its guidance. We need to learn to listen, trust, and act on its wisdom and guidance. None of this is easy. We have belief systems we do not want to let go of. We have belief systems that we are afraid to let go of. We have belief systems that we are not even aware of, and becoming aware of them can create intense emotions that could be shock or elation. When the higher self departs from your consciousness, you need to tell yourself, okay, he, she, or it is gone, and now it wants me to do some work. What work is waiting for me? What am I feeling? Personally, I write, journal, go for walks in nature, and ask God what I need to do. But being creative is a powerful tool to have. You do not need to use paints as I do. Bake, repair an engine, even build an engine. Pay attention to what is going on in your body and mind as you create. The same rules apply from the Expressive Therapies Continuum to all aspects of life. A liquid is a liquid, and it affects the brain and body the same way, as does a solid. It is easier for me to describe things using art supplies because they offer an easy avenue to all the realms of the mind and body. One can become so engrossed in this phase of figuring things out that we become unable to do the simple things in our daily life. I recall being focused on cleaning my daughter's room in 2010 when I was in a climactic phase of this journey but had no idea what was going on. My diagnosis was burnout. My husband had called me into the kitchen while I was cleaning my daughter's room, annoyed that I had not put anything away from when I was in the kitchen cooking. It can be a frustrating time for those around you and for yourself. Sometimes I think I'm not living up to even the simplest of standards like putting the milk away. Then I remind myself to be my own best friend and let this go. It is a phase. One of the tasks of this phase is to let go of what others think of you. You will be judged. People do not know about this process in life and could possibly think you are bonkers. And if you can't remember to put the milk away, are you really moving through a higher state of being? Practice letting those words fall away. You will notice changes in your life. Dr. Asciagioli describes how changes will be experienced as follows. As time goes on, he achieves fuller and clearer recognitions of the nature of reality, of man, and of his own higher nature. He begins to develop a more coherent conceptual framework which allows him to better understand what he observes and experiences, and which serves him not only as a means of guidance to further knowledge, but also as a source of serenity and order in the midst of life's changing circumstances. As a result, he experiences a growing mastery of tasks which formerly seemed beyond him. Operating as he increasingly does from a higher unifying center of personality, he harmonizes his diverse personality elements into a progressive unity, and this more complete integration brings him greater effectiveness and more joy." End quote. See, it all works out. The image went through an evolution. It moved from the trees and the moon being the focus, to the trees, Susan and I, falling into the background and the moon becoming the focus. A boundary was put around the moon, and the boundary itself went through a transformation. First it was made of thick black oily pastels, and then paint was added. Then it transformed slowly with a thin blue border on the outside to the blue taking over the border and becoming filled with swirling blue light and energy around the moon. Fireflies were protectors around this space, guardians. Now it is time to let go of the image and move the relationship into a new phase. This completes Dr. Assia-Joly's 4 phases of the self-realization process. See you next week for the final video in the Susan and Me series.